Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. It's now Pike going to have a go at Werrell. Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such trouble. He's touched on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Coming down.
Does he have it?
Medeiros is going to get it.
Haven't got it! He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such trouble. He's touched on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry!
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome into round 3 here of the F3 series here in the iFormula League, live from Circuit of the Americas, not far from my neck of the woods, maybe about, half the country away, but not that far in grand schemes of great racetracks. Of course, my name is Bradley Dalton, and I'm going to be joined in the booth and behind the cameras by James Parfitt here on this track today. Should be a very, very good race here. Round 4, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, here of Circuit of the Americas. And James, good afternoon to you, sir. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you very much. I am I'm all right, to be honest. I'm a little bit tired, but I'm sure once we get underway, we will be fine. It should be fine. Welcome in, Hans. How are you? The title says Super Formula. Check again, Hans. Refresh your page, dear sir. There on that one. But I'm gravy. I'm looking forward to this. We've got a bit of a short field. Hans, where are you? Why aren't you out on track as well? As you're sat in YouTube chat there as well. Bit of a short grid, but I'm hoping we still get a good showing.
Yeah, that short grid, but Coda is a good track to bring lots of action. These F3 cars are going around 2 minutes a lap roughly, so for a 28-lap race should be plenty of action, but we'll see how things shape up as it goes. We're nearing the end of qualifying and getting ready to grid up, which is going to produce, good action from all these cars. The one thing I like about the iFormula League, they always have a banger of a first lap. They always have a good first lap here in the F3 League. They get away well, they go away well, and it always starts very, very smooth. And of course, here at Coda, it's a 5.5 kilometer track almost, and just plenty of opportunity, plenty of challenges. And this beautiful hill to turn 1 is probably my favorite thing ever. It's deceptive just how steep that hill is. If you're looking at it, you're like, it's not that bad. And then you get that view from the grid and you just go, oh, okay, that's a very steep hill. And then, of course, you've got the middle sector and, the back and forth through the end of the first, into the middle sector, the long power middle sector, and then just that tricky third sector. I think tire management is going to play in here, James. I think there's going to be a lot of strategy that plays out across this long race today.
Yeah, I think we've got 28 laps, so obviously better, we're on 156 a lap almost. So you can do the rough maths if you're really clever, or if you're like me and you can't do it this quickly. It will be what it will be. But I think, Cota's Kota, right? And as you say, that long run up into turn one, it's a bit of an historical circuit, but it's a shame that these F3s can't run it like the NASCARs do, where they just take every bit of circuit and get it off and don't get it off track. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be amazing.
I think that would be fun. That would actually be really cool to watch. I wouldn't mind it. I hate NASCAR for that, but I think these F3 cars would carry a lot more speed if they did that. I think they'd probably shave about 10 seconds a lap off at least.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the thing. NASCAR pretty much doesn't have off tracks, right? I've seen them at Kota. They were running every single corner possible as well. They were taking inside, onside, outside, inside, whatever. It didn't really matter. If there was tarmac there, they were going to drive over it. And but I think these guys would be pretty awesome at doing that as well. And I think, as you say, they would carry a lot more speed. They would be able to, the lap would be able to quicker as well. Hans said, I haven't had time to practice. Mate, cheat, put the driver's line on and then just follow it. Easy solution. Well, for me anyway.
Also, it's Kota. What do you mean you haven't had time to practice? It's Circuit of the Americas. It's not that bad of a track.
No, just whack the driver line on and away you go. Simples. Yeah, as well. Right, we're just waiting for this to finish, and then we'll get onto the grid.
I can't say anything about the driver's line comment because I do the same thing. I have gotten back into driving the past few days. This league has really ignited my love for racing, so I've been doing a lot of driving the past few days, and I drive with the driver's line on when I'm trying to learn a track. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Do what you got to do.
Yeah, exactly. What you've been learning to do road racing, have you? Have you been back road racing?
Yeah, I'm trying to learn how to turn right. It's not working as well as I want it to, but hey, it's a work in progress, and you never know. I might drive in one of these leagues here someday. Depends on how things go. You never know.
It's amazing, isn't it? We've got an American doing the European road, and then you've got me who's been doing NASCAR all week. The irony. So there we go. I've been driving NASCAR. I've been doing the Draft Masters at Dega. That's been interesting, I've got to be honest. But yeah, no, I've been really enjoying it, to be fair. It's been fun. So we're just waiting for the session to swap over, guys, as well, and then I'll be able to bring you up the grid. Here it is. It is done. And Brad, there should... Oh, no, we're in the warm-up now. I forgot about that. 5-minute warm-up before we go into the gridding process as well. What are we going to look out for here, Brad? What are we going to see from Kota?
So here's the big tricky part of Kota. It is turn one. It is truly going to be this run up the hill off the race start to turn one that's going to be the biggest challenge. And of course, we'll ride on board here with Christian Glamsteeder as he runs through the beautiful turn 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And this section of the track was really designed after Maggots and Beckett's. It was really designed with that sort of Silverstone-esque setup in mind. So it's a lot of left to right, and you've really just got to be on your P's and Q's from turn 2 all the way down into turn 10 here where Christian is now. You've got to just be comfortable and hit all of your marks. You mess something up in that section of the track, you're going to lose a lot of time. Hard braking downhill into turn 11. Kota is really big about those really acute angle left-handers. It's turn 1, turn 11, turn 20, and turn 12 are very, very sharp left-hand corners. You can see Christian there locked up going into turn 11, so we're going to see a lot of that today. Long run here down the back straight. You've just got to keep your foot planted, look behind you if you're in the lead, and really just try to block. Here's turn 12, another big passing opportunity. We'll see lunges up the inside there. And then the horseshoe complex here, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. This is sector 3, and this is the section that's really going to eat on the tires. This is the part where it's really, really going to wear out those left side tires as you come around. These sweeping right-handers that just flow and flow. and it's like there's no end in sight. So you've got to just keep it together. And overall, I say Coda's not that bad. It's a pretty challenging lap because you've got to be able to just flip that switch pretty much every sector and change what you're thinking about every single sector.
I think that's the thing with Coda. You know, you can look at Coda and turn around and say, right, basically you've got 3 circuits put together and they make up Coda. And people will look at you and go, what do you mean? And literally with Coda itself, the circuit is obviously based off the Silverstone Magnussen Beckett's complex, as you said. And then you've got turn 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, which are modelled off the Hockenheim Arena bends. And then you've got Istanbul's turn 8 that is modelled off as well. And that is basically 17, 18, 19, 20. So there's a lot of different circuits that make up Coda. It's not just, oh, look, that's Coda. It is, but Coda itself is modelled on 3 different circuits throughout its sort of creation, should we say. So, yeah, there's 3 different circuits that make up Coda here as well, which, you know, yes, you could sit back and go, why are you so lazy? But you could also sit back and think, man, pretty smart, to be fair.
I have a love-hate relationship with it. I like it because it means that if you're familiar with those other circuits, which are pretty iconic circuits, if we're honest, you can be comfortable on Coda and hit this. But there's just that difference with it that makes it challenging. And I don't know, it's a very unique track. And of course, I'm American, so I'm going to be a little biased, and I really do like Coda. But like riding on board here with Anthony Serrano, and you can see him, he's coming out through turn 6 now here, the right-hander, and you can see if you miss a mark here, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? You've got to make sure that you hit every single pinpoint part of this circuit because, as you said, if you do, it's going to be a slowdown, and the slowdowns are horrible as well here. Katayama, well, if that is completely true, then, dude, you may have lost your house there, I've got to be honest. Sitco to go faster, I have my mortgage riding on this race. I'm not too sure I would have done that, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Good luck, I suppose. Katayama, well done to you. Good luck, buddy. Let's see how you get on. I don't really know what else to say, Brad. So
yeah, I don't have a good answer for that one.
No, me neither. Get good to YouTube chat as well. Good luck, everyone. Get good luck, sir. As we're coming into Mercedes turn 8 at Hockenheim. Yeah, as well. There you go. And off on that run round Istanbul's turn 8 here. So, yeah. Don't build your own. Copy everybody else's.
Yeah, but is that really the Formula One way to do things? Is that really the Tilk way to do things?
I don't really know. Grid's up for you there, buddy.
All right, well, let's go over the grid. Let's stop bashing Formula One here. Mackenzie Roon is going to be the lead there with Inten Sim Racing. Tyler Nelson in P2 there. Christian Glamsteeder in 3rd place, our points leader, sitting in P3 for the race. Scott Barton in 4th. Ian Lance. Anthony Serrano will be 6th. Victor Solano and Robert Ridgway lining up on the 4th row of the grid. Adrian Colaseed and Rachel Jimenez will be on the 5th row of the grid. And then, of course, Alexander Cinco, Mateus Balcar, Hans Juncker, and Alec Hinchcliffe, who it looks like those 2 in the back are not starting, which puts us with a 12-car grid here, James.
Well, we actually have got 13 because we've persuaded Hans to get onto the grid. He's put the racing line on. So he's on the grid as well. Oh, come on. If he says I'm not going to take part because I haven't had no practice, and then all of a sudden materialises and ends up on the grid, you know what's gone on, right? Or am I being a bit stringent?
No,
yeah, but there you go, mate.
Oh, and there's Hinchcliffe too. So we've got 14 cars here for 28 laps of Coda, 5 red lights. The green flag is out, and we are underway, and it's a slow start there, actually, from the number 24 of Ian Lance getting away. And you can see turn 1 of Coda is challenging. Everybody's up the hill here. It seems like most part there's a little bit of wiggling there in turn 1, and a big collision out of turn 1 there in the back. It looks like Solano, Serrano, Junker, Hinchcliffe, all involved in that. Up at the front, most people have gotten away with it, but the back half of the grid already having a cataclysmic turn 1 here.
Yeah, Ian Lance was involved in this, unfortunately. So there's Lance taking it 3 wide at the start. I'm not entirely sure why you would want to. And then he goes and dives. Oh, and then there's a couple of others behind. As you can see, it just turned into complete and utter chaos at that point. Hans Juncker, unfortunately, didn't. Well, I don't think he got caught up in it. I think he actually managed to get round it. But yeah, so not an ideal start for some. But I can tell you what, Tyler Nelson, Mackenzie Roon got flying starts.
Yeah, very, very good starts from them. And, of course, Christian Glamseeder not too far behind. So these top 3 are going to try to stick around. You see what we talked about on the backstretch with that little bit of swerving and a little bit clean there. And there's a dive there from Mackenzie Roon. Thought about the outside. Tyler Nelson outbreaks himself on the inside there and goes around, but it doesn't open up enough of a door for Mackenzie Roon. And Get Good Sim Racing has 1 car up in the front, 2 cars involved in turn 1, so they are trying to just get good here and keep moving forward. Tyler Nelson is defending, Mackenzie Roon is attacking, and of course our points leader, Christian Glamseeder there in P3. We know Christian has pace. It's just a matter of what can he do to pass, because as we say every weekend, James, it's one thing to catch, it's another thing to pass.
It definitely is there as well. Alex Heron in YouTube chat here as well. Is the goal to take these turns as slow as possible? I think the way to approach Kota is A, practice, right? B, don't leave the big door open at turn 1. And that's not me being vindictive. It's just basically you are going to, if you end up with people diving up the inside like that, that's what's going to happen. And then Mackenzie Roon didn't make it. But that's the problem with Kota, isn't it? It brings in that long looping vortex of terror turn where people have got the opportunity to dive up the inside of you.
Yeah, it's so weird because when you hit those turns, that turn 1, that turn 12, and turn 20, those sharp left angle turns here at Kota, turn 11, and you really have to be looking on the inside and just anticipating what's going to happen. You've got to be prepared to jump out of the way of someone who just absolutely outbreaks themselves. And that happens more often than not.
Yeah, it does. And that's the thing, isn't it? The problem with the circuit is just that makeup. There's so many corners like turn 11 where you leave that long looping arch. And that always antagonizes and gets somebody excited because they want to go and jump up the inside. And you're sitting there like we had at turn 1, you know, it all went a bit chaotic. And the problem is they've got to be a little bit more mindful of what turn 1 and corners like that are. And don't be silly. You know, you're all going to score points. There's no need to try and go from front to back within about a lap because it's never going to happen, you know. It's like driving an official, a Katayama there. Looks like the loan sharks are going to get me. Well, we did tell you not to put your house on it, mate.
Yeah, we kind of did, and, you know, well, good luck, friend. That's all I have. Good luck, friend.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's a hard one here as well, because if you start letting them get away, then we're going to have a very spread out field for 25 laps, right? And I think we want to keep it as close as possible. Ian Lance here as well, battling away. He's looking to go up the inside of Robert Ridgway at the moment. Ridgway's got to be on his best behaviour. You can see the wider line of Ridgway and the tighter line of Lance. Yes, it works, but it also produces this. Are they going to be able to go too wide here, Brad? Because otherwise it's going to be chaotic.
Yeah, I mean, and you can't go too wide for a bit through this section, but at some point someone's got to give. Otherwise, you're just completely compromising both of your races. But that is the thing, like turn 1, turn 11, you can have someone take the inside and loop, and you can have someone on the outside do a switchback, and then you end up side by side on the corner exit. Nobody wins, nobody loses, and then it's just a drag race of who's going to give up first. And in that case, Ian Lance holds on there, Ridgway drops back. But then you can see the difference if you're, depending on your comfort level in sectors 1 and 2, because iRacing divides this track into 4 sectors. So if you're not as comfortable in sector 1 and 2, you're going to lose a lot of time. And you can see, you know, Christian Glamseeder here is 0.6 of a second back on Tyler Nelson. And even then, Ridgway lost 0.6 of a second on Ian Lance and was side by side at the start of turn 1. So you can see just how different things can be for these drivers depending on what part of the track they're comfortable with. And the other thing about such a long, challenging lap is if you're comfortable in sectors 3 and 4, but the other guy's comfortable in sectors 1 and 2, you're going to have a problem. Christian Glamstetter, you can see, does not like those hard braking corners. He's locked up again, and I don't know exactly why.
I think overall, I think some people just struggle, don't they, now as here as well as they're coming into turn 19. Nielsen and Glamseater out in front. It looks like Alec. Oh, dearie me. Katayama, I would suggest that you get on to the Lone Sharks as soon as physically possible here. As Alexander Cinco looks like he may. Oh! Holla! F3s don't fly without 4 wheels on the floor, dear sir, as Cinco hit that sausage curb and it sent him up in the air there.
I hate sausage curbs. I'm just going to go ahead and make a controversial statement. I hate sausage curbs.
Do you?
I do not like sausage curbs. I like sausage patties. I do not like sausage curbs on racetracks.
No. I don't either, to be honest. They're annoying, but I think it's how you take them. You know, I've seen GT4s at the Red Bull Ring go and split turn 8 or eight sausage curb in half and put the sausage curb between the wheels. And because they've obviously got wheels on track, then obviously, you know, it's not an off track. And they get away with it. But I've also seen people try and take that sausage curb with 2 wheels on it, and it results in them spinning around in circles. So, you know, they've got to be very particular about how they take the sausage curbs, I think, here as well. They are big. They can be a pain. There are a couple of really random ones here at Coda, so they've got to look out for it on that one.
Yeah, well, and like I'm thinking back to the W Series. A few years ago, they ran here at Coda, and there was a driver that completely broke their back because they ran a little wide and hit a sausage curb. Like, it's just, it really does become the conversation of, you know, enforcing track limits versus safety issues. What is appropriate? Like, in that case, I think Cinco would have been fine if it wasn't for that sausage curb.
Yeah. He would have been, yeah, but he just hit the sausage curb, and that unfortunately ended up going round here as we jump onto the robot of Mackenzie Roon as he heads around turn 19. Nielsen, Glamseater, Roon, some of the closest battles on track. Colour Seed is down at the back here. He's chasing down the Loomis E-Motorsports of Rachel Jimenez just as he goes through. So Colour Seed is now through and up into 10th place here. But it is the main front three who are starting to slowly break away from the rest of the pack.
Yeah, these front three are just going to settle in here and keep running for a while. I mean, and it really is a case of, I think they know that this is a long race, and this is a race that they need to make it through and just keep going. So Nelson needs to just control the pace here. Glamseater and Roon need to just really watch their tires, watch their fuel, and do what they can, because here's the thing. These drivers are going to have to make a pit stop on or around lap 14. So once we start seeing these mandatory pit stops come through, that is going to be the point where it really makes things interesting. And I don't think we're expecting a 2-stop here at Coda, but it is a long enough race that I have to wonder, is 2 stops maybe an option for some of these drivers?
It might need to be. I think that's the problem. It might need to be an option because at the end of the day, you know, fuel is limited, isn't it? And there might not be no choice for these guys bar to take 2, because I think it was 2 weeks ago, wasn't it, that we were very close to running out of fuel, and they had to make sure that they'd got there and saved enough, otherwise they were going to be in trouble. So I think going forward, these guys are going to have to be sensible. If it is going to be 2 stops, well, there's going to be a lot of work for these guys to do here.
Yeah, and that's the other thing here with the iFormula series, is sometimes it's decided by that fuel strategy and what you do right. You know, you've got to practice, you've got to work with your team, and you've got to know coming into this race where your problem's going to be. Is it tires? Is it fuel? Is it pace? And you need to find a way to mitigate that. And I think if it is fuel, honestly, if drivers are going to do 3 stops, we'll probably start seeing stops here around lap 10. I would say maybe that's why Tyler Nelson is defending so hard. Maybe Tyler Nelson wants to stretch it and just do 1 stop. Yeah,
absolutely. I do agree there as well. Hans Juncker, do you know if I'll get 3 points just for starting? I think there is a limit on how many laps you have to complete before you get points. Give me 2 seconds on that one. I will fully research what that is. I'm pretty sure there is a limit to how many laps you have to do here as well. But I think at the end of the day, it's just all about being sensible, and I think that's the thing. You know, there's only 14 cars on track, and you were all going to score points. It's just you had to be sensible about it, and you didn't. Half of what has happened, you know, the first lap incident as well probably didn't need to happen. Cinco's incident, well, that was sausage curb orientated. We just had Rachel Jimenez also make a motion to defy herself, but has unfortunately made a mistake as well. That looks like turn 19 there, and she just spun it behind the wall and around she goes. So I think at the end of the day, it really is how you're going to cope. Fuel is limited to 50%, so that's going to be tough getting around here on 50%.
Yeah, I think even if they do just one pit stop at lap 14, I still think 50% fuel is going to be tough, especially if your plan is to push and challenge. I mean, man, this is going to be one that I wish I had a race driver in my ear right now so they could tell me what their strategy was. I need to start interviewing these guys before the race and say, hey, what's your strategy? What's your plan? When are you pitting? Are we one stop, two stop? What are we looking at here? I need to start asking these guys before the race, because I go in thinking one thing and they do something totally different that I don't expect.
Absolutely. The rule 3.15, Hans, you must finish a race to score championship points for your finisher position, assuming the driver manages to finish in the points by the scoring board. If a driver disconnects or does not finish a race, it will be classed as a DNF and no championship points. But how the driver finished will be awarded. This does not affect 3.18 or the bonus points section, of course, as well. So, yeah, you do have to finish the race here, unfortunately, Hans, or try and get back out as best as you possibly can to get some points on the board here tonight.
Yeah, I love that they have all of those rules so fleshed out. It goes to show just how together the league is, how long they've been established. They know what they're looking at, and it's good to see that they have all of this written out and thought about. Something that I think needs to be written out and thought about here is Mackenzie Roon in P3 with the Get Good Sim Racing needs to think about how to get up in the lead right now. And you can see these guys, Nelson and Glamsitter, are swerving a little bit here. And James, I know your opinion on the back and forths down the straight, but I think Mackenzie Roon just sticking right to the back of Christian Glamsitter here, trying to hold on and just trying to stay behind here and stay consistent.
I don't mind them moving once. It's just when they weave left, right, left, right, left, right. God, as I say, they weave more times than me nan knitting a jumper. It drives me absolutely insane. You know what I mean? Once I get 60 times backwards and forwards, just no. Because just no. That's all I'm going to say on that one. As we're coming around to finish off lap 7 before we start on to lap 8, we've got Nelson, Glamsitter and Roon are your closest finishers or your closest people on the track at the moment. Nelson, they're trying to break the draft again. See the same thing. One move is fine, Brad. 6 or 7 is just ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting here is how Nelson is approaching some of these turns. It's very much just a train of these top 3 at this point. Nobody's really trying to make a move. Nobody's doing anything crazy. They're all just settling in. Now, Christian Glamsitter is gaining time here through the Sector 1 and Sector 2. He's gaining a little bit of time, starting to get a little bit closer, but they're not pushing each other as hard as I thought. They're not giving it as much of a challenge as I was expecting. Christian Glamsitter especially is just settling in, but this is peak Christian Glamsitter's strategy. Christian Glamsitter will settle in. We've got a replay here of Adrian Colaseed, and I have a feeling this is going to be Outbreaking Yourself. And
Round he goes.
Can't ask that much out of the rear tires, unfortunately.
And Katayama, you could be in even more trouble.
We might need to check on him after. And Cinco coming around there, and that is turn 19, I believe. Just a break of traction there at the rear, but holding on to it. And Tyler Nelson, that draft down the backstretch helps Christian Glamsitter catch up. And you can see as soon as we get into these corners, Christian Glamsitter is just settling back in. He's going to have to do the pass. Either turn 1, turn 11, or turn 12. It's going to have to be one of the 3.
I don't think they're going to get him in 11. I've just got this funny feeling I don't think they will. Turn 1 till 12. Turn 1. What did you say? Did you say 10 and 11 or just 11?
No, I said 11 and 12.
Oh, yeah, 11, 12, 20 and 1. That's where I think the opportunity should arise. But as we know, we're not in here, so not entirely sure how this is going to be. Nelson goes to the right-hand side now. He comes back again. Rune and Glamseater are following him. He does leave that door open for that big dive up at the inside of turn 1, and he doesn't take it this time around.
I don't think Christian Glamseater likes turn 1. That's what I'm getting, because really in that moment, Christian Glamseater should have went for a little bit of a dive up the inside, even if it's just to wake up Tyler Nelson and get Tyler Nelson paying attention. It's either that Glamseater doesn't think Nelson will care that he's on the inside and they'll come together, or it's that Glamseater thinks he can get him better into 11 or 12. And it's hard to tell which way, because now Glamseater's losing space and Mackenzie Rune is starting to catch up here. So Mackenzie Rune, if they wanted to, could have a dive up the inside here into 11. Thinks about it, but doesn't. And again, Christian Glamseater is setting it up. These three are continuing to have these opportunities, but nobody's taken it yet. And I need to see which one of these drivers is going to choose to take that opportunity for a pass first.
But is it too early? Because it's only lap 9, right? You know, you can see that most of the grid are spread out. We've lost Victor Solano here as well. I'm just trying to find out if I can see what happened to Victor. Him and Andy Hinchcliffe look like they may have had a moment, but this is what happened to Solano in that number 1 machine here, and the 0034 of Hinchcliffe. Yes. Told you, vortex of terror, my dear, vortex of terror, especially when you can see it happening as well. I think that's the worst thing here. You know, he's going to go run all the way to the wide. Hinchcliffe thinks, then decides to go, and unfortunately that is the result for Hinchcliffe. So unfortunately for Hinchcliffe, he was the loser in that one.
Yeah, and if you're on that inside line, you have to commit to it. That is the big thing. You have to know. But if you're on the outside, you also have to anticipate the driver on the inside and leave a little bit of room on the apex. You can see there, it was just a case of the outside car taking the apex, the inside car just kind of going for it. And it just 2 into 1 doesn't go. That's always going to be the rule.
I think that's the thing, and at the end of the day, as they come off now around turn 5 and through 6 and into 7 at the moment, they've got to work out where to overtake people. You can't just go round and send people off and, you know, expect to go up the inside, and that's just never going to work. You know, for Rune, he's got to get Glamseater, but he's got to do it sensibly. You can't really try the vortex places here or at 11 and 12. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble as these guys go on the run down to 11 now. And you can see Tyler Nelson will be weaving all over the track there. The announcers are the Al Michaels of racing. For real, almost as good as somebody Gandy. Lee Gandy. Am I missing? Who's Al Michaels?
I'm not sure either, and I don't know if I should know who that is, but I feel like I should.
All right, well, you carry on, and I'll find out who he is.
Okay, yeah, as we watch here, coming through Sector 4 now. I hate that iRacing does 4 sectors. I know why they do it, but I hate it. Sector 4 here, Mackenzie Rune just continuing to ride on board and watch. Just sitting back, trying to pick the chances here, but the grid's really spread out and just kind of looking through at some of the action that we've had through. It's Tyler Nelson, Christian Glamseater, Mackenzie Rune in the top 3. Of course, Mackenzie Rune started on pole, but immediately lost out on that top position there after the first couple of laps. Mackenzie Rune may be putting some pressure on Christian Glamseater now. Up the run towards turn 1, you see the look on the inside here. Christian Glamseater is just going to hold the outside line. You can see really using all that curb there. Mackenzie Rune will send it through, hits the line. Christian Glamseater on the switchback here. Does Christian Glamseater have the space and the speed to get past Mackenzie Rune? Does not. So finally, lap 11 to 28, these 3 swap positions, and Mackenzie Rune up into P2, again started on pole, and Christian Glamseater back in P3 where Christian Glamseater started. But now Mackenzie Rune needs to hold on to it. You see Christian Glamseater with a bit better of a run there, especially through second sector here. Running down into turn 11, here we come through turn 10, and is Christian Glamsitter going to look at getting the pass done? And the other thing these two need to consider as we run down towards turn 11, as they battle, they will lose touch with Tyler Nelson, and that will make things more difficult on them.
Al Michaels, by the way, is an NFL play-by-play commentator. He does the NFL, does the Super Bowl. Now, almost as good as Lee Gandy. Now, apparently that's a slang term as well. So, yeah, I don't know, Katayama, if that's good or not, but I don't think so, reading by the slang terminology of that Lee Gandy. But overall, I don't know. Maybe they're paying us a compliment. Maybe they're not. You know what I mean? But look, let's get back to the racing as we come into currently, which is I almost said turn 8 then, but it's not. It's turn 15 here at COTA, and it's still Mackenzie Roon and Glamseater with Scott Barton behind us as well. Scott was kind enough to reach out to me earlier on, and if you have a look on YouTube in the bottom left hand corner, you will see Scott driving on his rig there as well. So much love to Scott for giving me a feed to his camera there. As you can see, his triple screens working overtime. I will say, Scott, if you watch this back, you need some bezel hiders there, dear sir, because your bezels do stick out quite bad.
Yeah, but still pretty cool to have a feed. He can hide the bezels at a later date. Just cool to have the feed to begin with. So shout out Scott Barton running P4, who is doing that 3.3 seconds back on this top 3 pack that's finally closed back up and is still battling. Scott's in a pretty good place, I think, here, especially once we start getting through pit stops. I think Scott Barton maybe could be in contention. I'm looking at pace, and Scott Barton's been faster than Christian Glamsitter. So he's not that far off from looking at being in a good spot. Just needs to close up that 3 seconds or so as we go.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. I think for him, he's done really well, Scott, and I don't see him being a million miles away. I think if there wasn't a little bit of carnage, he might have been up there a little bit more and stuff like that, but you can see what's happening at the front. It looks like Glamseater and Roon have now stopped battling, and they're pulling in Nelson once more. They're only 9 tenths back at the moment, so this battle for the top 3 could carry on for a while here, as well as Mackenzie Roon and Glamseater still scrapping out, and let's see how this one pans out.
Here's the thing I've learned with Christian Glamseater as we go. Christian Glamseater is very, very good when Christian Glamseater has clean air, but when Christian Glamseater finds himself in traffic, he tends to get stuck. He very much tends to be in that spot held up, and I don't know why that is. It's something I'm curious on. We may have to ask him later if we do interviews and just ask Christian Glamseater, what is it that makes him get stuck in traffic? Is it just passing is that difficult in these cars?
Maybe. It might be. For your information there, Katayama, they are 11 hours ahead of me, and I'm GMT. So they are 11 hours ahead of me as Glamseater and Roon go battling away there as well. I think overall you've got to have complete and utter faith in the person you're driving, right? And I'm sure we'll both see both of these people a little bit later on for the IGP fun here. So you've got to make sure you can get it right. Glamseater's pressurising Roon to get out of shape going through these corners. And we know this complex is a flow complex where they've got to keep the flow. They've got to make sure their chi is in check, and it's all aligned nicely to make it through this almost imitation of Maggots and Beckett's there. So I think overall they've just got to sit back, chill out, relax, keep the flow, start trying to move forward here as well. I do think it might be just a 2-stop race.
Yeah, I know you've heard me talk about this before, where it's kind of look behind you, look around you. But in that section of the track, Sector 1 and Sector 2, you cannot look away. You need to be looking, spotting every single corner entry, corner exit. You need to be on your P's and Q's all the way down. Now, one interesting note here, Mackenzie Roon has lost the draft there to Tyler Nelson, and Christian Glamseater just sends it up the inside of 12. And now they're going to, again, switch back side by side. Who gives out there? Christian Glamseater ends up in P2 now, and Mackenzie Roon will relegate back to P3, but you can see still trying to set this up a little bit. Christian Glamseater with a very, very good defense, though, just holding the middle of the track, not giving Mackenzie Roon any space, and is just settled in nice and comfortable in the second place. and now needs to set off 1.6 seconds now the gap to Tyler Nelson in just that little bit of time, and needs to close that down as quick as possible.
Yeah, I do agree, but it's one, as you say, trying to catch it to try and pass. It's absolutely horrendous, and I think these guys really need to stop battling. Like, otherwise, Nielsen might as well just go and pull over at the side of the road and get a KFC later on, because he's going to be that far ahead by the time we come out the pit stops. And these cars are so spread out at the moment. We almost need a safety car or something to basically bring these guys back in, because they are so spread out after the turn one calamity that basically it's now everybody's so far away from each other. Glamsy is making a small amount of impression on Nielsen, while Rune is not making an impression on Glamsy whatsoever since he's got past him.
Yeah, and it's so weird because we talk about, you know, staying in the draft and staying behind, but then in sector 1 and 2, it gets tricky at the same time, because you have those guys that is just like the dirty air and stuff becomes a problem, and it just becomes a mess. And like you said, we really could use just a nice stage break. You know, you've been running NASCAR, you know stage breaks. We could use a nice little halfway race stage break, everybody into the pits, grid back up, and let's run a second 14 laps.
Yeah, see, I agree with that. Stage break on lap 14, bring everybody into the pits, get them all up together behind the safety car, and away we go again. And to be fair, as a concept and as a format, that probably would work. And there's probably a lot of leagues out there that do Super Formula, F3, or open wheelers, or radicals could probably benefit from that format, because of the fact that the racing can get so spread out at times, like we are here. You know, we're looking at the thing. Everybody is so gapped at the moment that we're waffling on. But I think at the end of the day, I think a safety car probably wouldn't go amiss here. You know what I mean? I think that's the thing. I think it wouldn't go amiss. It would be an ideal scenario, and it's a recommendation that anybody could bring it in, and I think people should, to be honest.
Yeah, that is true. Looking at normal F3 regs, because I was curious how this lines up, this lap count lines up with real life F3. So real life F3 at COTA, at all of their races, they run 40 minutes plus 1 lap. And that's a true 40 minutes plus 1 lap. It's not what IMSA did at Daytona. It's a true 40 minutes plus 1 lap. So we're a little bit right on time with that. The only difference is, of course, running the pit stops. That's not something they would do in F3. But that's kind of where we sit. Now we're starting the pit stop cycle, and COTA is really showing why COTA is COTA and the issues that COTA brings on longer races. Because here we go. Our top 6 have been in and out of the pits, and they pretty much stay where they were. The only difference is Christian Glanceter is significantly closer to Mackenzie Rune than he was before. So, but yeah, our top 8 all in and out there lap 14, which tells me that everybody was running right to the edge of fuel. And now it's just a sprint to the end here. We got to just make it to lap 28.
Can't be a sprint. Why can't it be a sprint? Because if they've only just made it to 14, they're only just going to make it to 28. So it isn't going to be a sprint. Rune jumped Glamseter in the pits. Glamseter went in ahead of him. So Mackenzie Rune, 32.42 pit lane time, 33.82 for Glamseter. So Christian there was near enough 1.1 seconds slower than Mackenzie Rune, who is got Glamseter alongside him currently as they go round through turn 15 and then into turn 12, and then into 13 and 14 before they go into turn 15. So if they've only just made 14 laps, they're only going to make 20. They're only just going to make 28.
Flashing goes on lap 27. Do we think that's an option? Because it could be an option.
Yeah, I agree. I think it could be an option, and if it is an option, then well, it's going to bring interesting developments in the race.
We've got ourselves a race on our hands, friends. Lap 15 to 28 here, and kind of just looking through the field. A lot of people have really stayed stationary to where they started. Of course, Tyler Nelson, Christian Glanceter up places. Mackenzie Rune starting in pole. It's down in second. And then Scott Barton, Ian Lance, Anthony Serrano, all where they started. Robert Ridgway has made up a place. Mateus Balcar has made up 4 places. Adrian Colaseed right where they started. Alexander Cinco is up a place for Rachel Jimenez. And then, of course, Alex Hinchcliffe is up 2 places And then the big loser of the day, Victor Solano, which we covered earlier on where things happened with Victor Solano. And I'm just going to apologize to Hans because Hans was in YouTube chat. We encouraged Hans to join. And then, of course, Hans now in the pit lane after that lap 1 incident. So, did we cause lap 1? No, we didn't cause lap 1.
There was no way in a month of Sundays did we cause lap 1. Did we make the dive here from Jimenez up the inside? Absolutely not. And this is what happened on lap 1, guys, as well. You can see that somebody tries to take it 3 wide, and then Rachel Jimenez, who is in the blue and white to the left-hand side here, this one, goes and tries to take a 2 for 1, a 3 for 1, a 5 for 1 special, and then unfortunately just comes from such a long way back that contact starts in front of her in one of the Lumos esports there. And then she makes contact, and then obviously Coliseed and Ian Lance make contact as well. And that was Ian Lance also into the side of somebody at the same time. But no, we didn't cause it because we weren't driving the car. So at the end of the day, everybody else should have been more careful. I'm not in pit for a crash. I just wanted 3 points. Well, you do have to kind of finish a little bit, mate. You know what I mean? So, you know, you do got to finish and do some laps. You can't just sit in the pits and expect to score points, Hans. Come on.
I mean, it is a big brain strategy there from Hans. I'm not saying I agree with it, but hey, if you're gonna have a strategy, I guess that's one. So Hans opting for the option of staying in the pits to earn something, to do some finish. I mean,
but it's got to race. That's the thing. It's like I said in that rule, 3.15. You must finish a race to score championship points for your finish position, assuming the driver manages to finish in the points by the scoring board. If a driver disconnects or does not finish the race, it will be classed as a DNF, and no championship points for how the driver finished will be awarded. This does not affect Rule 3.18 on bonus points. So obviously the bonus points there as well, but you do have to finish, Hans, and I'm pretty sure there is a lap limit. So let's see what happens.
Come on, Hans, back on the track. I need to see some more racing from you. Come on.
Yeah.
You can keep YouTube up in the background.
Come on, show us your silky skills, Hans. Show us your silky skills. So there we go.
Lap.
Brad, are you watching the Super Bowl later on?
I'm not, actually. I'm not a big NFL fan.
You're not a baller.
I am not a sports fan like that. I'm a big fan of racing. However, football is not my thing. I like baseball, though. I do like baseball.
We call it American rugby because it's not football, dude. Football, you kick with your foot. You don't run with your hands. All right, so you'll be watching the Daytona 500 next week, then?
Oh, I will for sure be watching the Daytona 500 next week. That one I will not be missing because it's used to be family tradition for me. As soon as the Daytona 500 was coming up, I'd go get together, all the aunts, uncles, everybody would get together. We'd do a big cookout, and everybody would just pile around a TV and watch the Daytona 500. I remember that growing up. That was a big thing in my household. So I always make it a point, if I can, to sit and watch the 500. Now, of course, I will be away next weekend because I've got some different things going on, but I do plan on watching the 500, if not at least watching the replay of it later on in the day.
Oh, there we go. I will be trying to watch the NFL later on. That is on the reminder whether or not I am still awake, mind you, because it's on at 11:30 at night and will go on till about 3 in the morning for me as well. Katsuyama, I'm a big fan of JP Broadcasting. Thank you. Much love to you. The car don't start now. That's because you've blown it up, Hans. You've been sat there. Don't forget, press I to engage the ignition and S to start the car, Hans. That's free advice. Fresh from the comms box, as we've got 10 to go here as well. Christian Glamsey and Mackenzie Roon with Scott Barton in 4th, running around with 7 seconds to the guys in front and 11 seconds to the guys behind. So a lot of these guys are fairly spread out, just taking Sunday drives around Kota here as well. So fair play to these guys. But if you do want to watch the NFL, it is on later on. So you can go and watch it there as well on multiple different media outlets, but it just depends on which ones you have, of course. So yeah, go and check it out. I'll try and stay up, but I can guarantee I'll probably end up watching it tomorrow.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with watching a replay of it. The big thing, of course, is you have to avoid spoiling it for yourself and looking on, Twitter or X, whatever you call it, or literally any social media on the planet before you watch the replay. The fun of being an American F1 fan is I've done that many a times. I've woken up and had a bunch of social media notifications rolled over, and the first thing that I see is Max Verstappen wins whatever Grand Prix ran that morning. And I'm just like, okay, I wanted to watch the race, but I won't now.
Yeah, I just sit there and go, wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you for telling me that has happened there as well. Because I just say the last thing you want to do is wait, turn over, as you say, and then it just says it, and you're like, I should really turn them off before a sporting event I can't make. So, yeah. But I think the NFL will be quite interesting. The 49ers are there as well with the Kansas City Chiefs. Both have done well this season. Can I see past the Chief with Patrick Mahomes? Probably not. I think Mahomes might be a bit dominant here. It could be his year of Super Bowl domination, so that's going to be an interesting one here as well. But thank you so much for joining us on the JPB Broadcasting YouTube channel for sim racing, of course. We're watching Mackenzie Roon and Christian Clancy. Roon just cannot get close enough here, and unfortunately is still staring at the back end of that machine of Mackenzie Roon as well. So yeah, tough day for these guys and a tough track. So don't forget, later on we've got the IGP as Roon does go through on Glam Seater there as well, makes that move down into turn 12. Don't forget we've got the IGP a little bit later on, where I could probably guarantee there's going to be about 40 cars on the circuit.
Yeah, it's going to be a big race. The IGP is always fun. I like watching the IGP. Usually I do this broadcast, I've got another one after, and then I usually hang out and just watch IGP and relax a little bit, play some games, and just kind of unwind from my day. So if you haven't checked out IGP, highly recommend it. It's a lot of good racing to go through. James, we should consider streaming NFL on JPB.
Oh,
I think you could do.
I think I might get in trouble.
I don't mean the actual NFL. I mean some
a watch along.
Some games.
Oh,
maybe actually getting do they still do? I know they do NBA 2K24 and stuff. They still do the NFL games, right?
I have no idea, dude.
All right, well, because I grew up playing a lot of NBA on my PS2 and NFL Madden on the PS2, so yeah, that could be a fun little side project for us.
Yeah, it could be. Not quite sure when I'll fit that into an already very busy schedule, but I'll see what I can do. So don't forget, guys, as well, if you do want to be a part of JPB, you can. We do run multiple leagues. We will have an endurance league coming up as well. That will be happening in May. The first race will be in May. You can also look at the fact that we will be running 100% length NASCAR series. That will start on May the 5th. As we will have multiple communities getting themselves involved in that one as well. So yeah, lots going on, lots for you to check out as well. Head over to jpbbroadcasting.com or check the link below and join the Discord, as there will be a lot of things happening here on the JPB YouTube channel. So get yourselves involved if you want to. But back to the racing now. We've got Anthony Serrano, who is also closing down on Rob Ridgway. Looks like Ridgway's losing a little bit of time here. So Rob Ridgway there could be up and a bit of struggling here again.
Yeah, it looks like Robert Ridgway is really not enjoying Sector 2. Just looking at sector times on the last lap, it really is that Sector 2 and Sector 4. It's those tricky corner sections that Robert Ridgway is not enjoying. So Anthony Serrano being very consistent in those lap times, about half a second faster the last lap than Robert Ridgway. So Anthony Serrano looking to get back up into P6 where he started. And we'll see if Serrano can scoot along and move forward here. We've got just a handful of laps left, so we're not that far away from the conclusion of this race. So I think Serrano is starting to just apply the pressure as we go here.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's just sort of cranking down the pressure pot, isn't he? before he gets into the mix there. But Glamseater and Rune, of course, are still going. We'll keep an eye on that battle as well. As you can see, Mackenzie Rune is 2 attempts quicker in Sector 1. Let's pick up on Sector 2. That will be on the exit of turn 10, halfway down between 10 and 11. So we'll keep an eye on these guys as there's still these two little battles that have now developed and should be great over the next 7 laps.
Yeah, and it's good to see these battles going. It goes to show that a little bit of strategy, a little bit of endurance went in, but the drivers are, of course, going to just keep things moving here as we watch and as we go through, and I really am excited to see the conclusion of this and see how things go through. Christian Glamseater putting that pressure on Mackenzie Rune as we run down the backstretch here, heading into turn 12, and you can see Mackenzie Rune just positions the car a little bit there in the middle just to make sure that there's no issues and no sort of dive up the inside. Leaves enough room that if Christian wanted to have a move there, he could, but then you can see the difference in line here through this third sector. You can see just how different they are running this third sector, but they're still similar in times. And again, it's one thing to catch, it's another pass. Christian Glamseater just needs to keep putting pressure forward here as we're just a handful of laps to go. It'll be lap 22 of 28 in the line here.
Yeah, we're on lap 22. Not long remaining here as well for these guys, as we've got about another 6 laps. So in about another 12 minutes, give or take, this race will be over. And as you can see, it's a pretty equal spread between Glamseater and Rune on sector times there. You know, they're not really making the massive gains over each other, are they, that we thought? And if you had a look at lap time history, you can see it's kind of backwards and forwards, you know, Glamseater, Rune, Glamseater, Rune. So no real great difference. It could be why these guys are so similar on pace that they can't get through past each other, Brad.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen them go back and forth a couple of times. We've seen them, you know, pass one way to the other, but it's not enough. You need to pass, and then you need to build a little bit of a gap. And they've been able to pass, but they haven't built that gap, and then things just reverse back around. So between Mackenzie Rune and Christian Glamseater, they're so even in pace that I think regardless of what they do, they're going to pretty much finish in one of the two ways. It just depends on basically which one gets luckier to get a pass done before the end.
Yeah, definitely. You see Balcar there has got a second on colour seed at the moment. Serrano must have made a mistake there because he's lost a bunch of time over Robert Ridgway, and this is one of the first ones that he made for Anthony Serrano, and I'll say one of first because there's been a couple. He's going to go round, I can see that now as well for Anthony Serrano, and then he goes round again, I'm going to presume here not long after that on the heated tyres, and didn't get the car stopped here coming into what looks like turn 11, and around he goes again. So Anthony Serrano does all the hard work and then just goes, flushes it away in one lap.
Yeah, that's the thing, those left-hand corners, those tricky left-handers that we talked about all the way at the top of the broadcast a while ago. Turn 1, turn 11, turn 12, turn 20, you can't ask too much out of the car there. You can't ask too much out of these hand-picked tires, because if you do, it's just, it doesn't work. Mackenzie Rune, Christian Glamseater, again, look how even they are on pace as we head near the end of this race. I mean, it's just so even. I mean, it's scary, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. They're just so similar on pace that they are just not really gaining, losing, or taking part with each other. It's just kind of a follow my leader, you go, I go, you go, I go, after you, after me. Because that's why they've ended up like this at the moment as well, where they're just not really making moves on each other. Scott Barton is now still driving around on his own. He's got 9 seconds in front and 14 seconds behind. So that's a very, very lonely race for Scott there as well. So, yeah, cars spread out for now as we're coming into the final 5.
Yeah, final 5 here, and the drivers are probably happy to be so spread out. Like, it's probably boring, and granted, it may not make for some of the best streaming, but for the drivers, it means they can just relax. There's not a lot of pressure. They're not really having to do anything crazy. They're pretty well guaranteed a position, a finish, a points finish. They just need to stay consistent and relaxed. It's not too bad for them, and they're just enjoying it. So Good race overall for everyone. I mean, other than turn 1, lap 1, which turn 1, lap 1, we always expect something to happen, but everybody's just staying nice and relaxed all the way through here. And you can see even Christian Glamseeder is starting to open up that gap here to Mackenzie Roon and is going to start losing a bit of time here as we head through sector 4. I believe we're out on the track, if I can recognize my track. And possibly I'm wrong.
Final sector.
Okay. There we go, on to turn 1. So we start lap 25 of 28, 3 laps to go. And Christian Glamseeder needs to try to find a way to make a pass. Tyler Nelson just wants those two to keep squabbling. He's got over a 2-second gap now. He needs those two to just keep each other occupied.
I think that was the problem. I think if they hadn't squabbled, they would have been all right. But because they've squabbled, they've left themselves an insurmountable gap. And now it looks like Roon might just have the pace on Glamseeder here as well, as this track just continues to annihilate them Hancock tyres that are on these little F3s currently. And you see it with Glamseeder getting all a little bit squirrely there as well. And when you're leaving tyre tracks on the racetrack, you know you're sliding. So there you go, Tyler Nelson, 1.9 seconds. Is Mackenzie Roon going to be able to go fast enough? No, I don't think so, to be able to catch him over the next 4 laps. He's literally got to put out probably about half a second a lap, and at the moment he's closer to Glamseeder than he is to Nelson. So for Mackenzie Roon, could be a second place overall here.
Yeah, but second place overall isn't bad at all. And of course, we haven't talked about the AM class a lot today, but Anthony Serrano there back in P7 running a very just... Again, I said it a second ago, just a consistent, relaxed race. So even in the AM setup, Anthony Serrano is in a very, very good position. Rachel Jimenez is back quite a ways. Cinco and Valcar there. Very fortunate for them. You have to wonder what this race would have been without lap 1. Turn 1, lap 1.
Yeah, I think that's what caused the carnage, wasn't it? Hinchcliffe was out, Junker's obviously in the pits, Solano's out as well. You know, what would have happened if turn 1 hadn't happened? Well, it would have been a different story, wouldn't it? And we would have been talking about a completely different race here. But unfortunately, for Anthony Serrano, after that earlier spin and then the second spin, and then it looks like we may have the third one, you cannot hit that sausage curb. So for Serrano, he's definitely struggling at the moment, Brad.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, we're so close to the end that Serrano really needs to just reel it back. I mean, you've got 12 seconds behind, 20 seconds ahead. Just reel it back a little bit. You're okay to the end. Just don't make any silly mistakes and just let the race go. You're not racing for anything except for finishing at this point, unfortunately. And I hate saying that, but when the gaps are that large ahead and behind, there's no need to try to be a hero or do anything. It's just let it run, let it ride, let it go.
I do agree. They've just got to try and now keep the car on track. Roon is down to 1.5. He's not going to have enough. 157.05, 157.41 for Mackenzie Roon. So he's got 4 attempts closing on Nelson. He's only going to have 3 more laps to go here as we're on lap 25, 26, 27, 28, 3 laps. So I don't know if he's going to be able to get there, but we'll keep an eye on him, see if he's able to move forward and see if he's able to get that last final victory here as well. But I just think he's just a little bit too far back.
Yeah, I don't think Mackenzie Roon is running for a race win here. I think Mackenzie Roon is running for P2 and for keeping Christian Glamseeder behind, which Christian Glamseeder is down to a second and a half behind, but we know Christian Glamseeder has pace, of course, our current points leader. So Christian Glamseeder really just settling in is probably taking a bit of a lap to cool the tires here and relax the car and just relax a little bit, catch your breath, and probably for these final 3 laps is really going to start applying the pressure on Mackenzie Roon here. Yeah,
I do agree. It's down to 1.2, so he is closing quite rapidly as they come over the line. Oh, Glamseeder's off in the background. All done and dusted for Christian Glamseeder. He will now only be able to settle for 3rd as he's come round here as well. Final corner, too much pace on entry. Tries to get the car stopped, hits the brakes a little bit harder. And that is the final result of that for Christian. So, unfortunately for these guys, on lap 26, now down to a 2-horse race. And can Mackenzie Roon get there?
Well, we've seen Christian Glamseeder lock up several times this race. And I hate seeing that. But you just got to take care of the car all the way to the end. And again, we talk about it. It doesn't matter where you're at on lap 26. It matters where you're at the race finish, when the checkered flag flies. And Mackenzie Roon here is going to try to chase down Tyler Nelson and get the pass up into P1. 1.3 seconds the gap. James, I don't... it's just outside of the range where the draft is really effective. I don't know. It all depends on how Tyler Nelson drives. Tyler Nelson needs to just bring it home and have a good drive to the end and, you know, hit your marks and keep it comfortable, and you've got a good win in your hands. But, of course, the gap, you know, closing little by little as it can, I don't know. That's one of those, we'll have to see what happens on the end of lap 28.
Yeah, I fully agree, but I don't know if he's just going to be close enough, or Tyler Nelson sort of, I don't want to say playing with his food, but you know, trying to make it maybe a little bit more exciting, or Mackenzie Roon is just outright quicker. So find out over the next few laps. We've got 26. We're coming to the end of 26 now as we're coming into the final turn 20 here before we go on to 27 and 28. If you can get it down to about 4 tenths by the end of 27, there might be an opportunity. But I think on a 156.98 and a 157.12, that's only 3 tenths. I don't think he's going to be quick enough to get there.
Christian Glamsitter's into the pit lane here, and I'm not sure what that's going to be for. I wonder if that is a fuel miscalculation or is going to try to steal the fastest lap here at the end of the race.
It's a big arse, though, isn't it? There's 2 laps to go for it.
It is, and really it's just 1 lap to go because you have your out lap and then you go, and Christian Glamsitter giving up E3 for that too, which is interesting to see. But yeah, Christian Glamsitter in the pits for about 7 seconds. So I think maybe just a splash and go there. I wonder if Christian Glamsitter was just short on fuel.
Maybe. But that does allow Scott Barton to take 3rd, and with a 7.5 second gap there. So Scott, in your bottom left hand of your screen, you see his triples as he's driving this Valve Esports F3 here, doing an absolutely fabulous job there as well. So fair play to Scott. It's gonna be it must be so like anticlimaxical for Scott Barton because he's just been pretty much on his own all weekend.
Yeah, but you know, just run a consistent, comfortable race and end up in P3, end up on a podium. You can't be too mad at it.
Well, no, you can't be mad, but you could just be a little bit bored out your nut, couldn't you? Let's be honest, just driving around on your own here as well. Don't forget, guys, like, subscribe, turn on the bells, and do all that other fancy jazz as well, which is completely free on YouTube. It does not cost you $4.99 a month like other platforms do. It is completely free. Just to like, subscribe, and turn on the bells. Drop us a comment down in the comment section after the race as well. Let us know what you think. And if there's anything that you think we can make better. Well, they did get it down to 4 tenths. Now we're going to go over the white flag. Is Mackenzie Roon going to get this before the end of this lap, bro?
Mackenzie Roon is going to have a tall ask. I don't think it's impossible, though. We have the run up into turn 1, and you can see Mackenzie Roon is just matching Tyler Nelson for line and pace here and just kind of holding on and needs to just stick to the back here of Tyler Nelson through the sector 1 and 2 going down into turn 11. Just stay right behind, stay comfortable here, and don't do anything crazy. You're right there. The win is right in your grasp. You just be careful. Be careful is all we can ask here as we go through and come around, and you can see is, again, staying right there. I think down into turn 12 is really going to be where we see the pass. Here's turn 10. Here's turn 11. Is Mackenzie Roon going to go for a dive? Oh, late on the brakes, though. Mackenzie Roon late on the brakes there. Closes up the gap, and Tyler Nelson, you can see, is already thinking about how do I defend this down the straight. Yeah,
not like that.
Yeah.
Not like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, once I get, twice I get, 60 times. No. But they are coming into turn 15 for the final time. It looks like Mackenzie Roon has got a little bit more grip than Tyler Nelson. Is he going to be able to use it, though? That's going to be the problem. Is he going to use it around 17 and 18 along a right-hander there for these guys? And Mackenzie Roon has got an opportunity. It depends how he keeps it in. However, he does just get a slide coming out of 15, before he goes 16 and 17. So I think this could be a Tyler Nelson win.
Yeah, I think Mackenzie Rune with that little bit of traction break is done and dusted there. Had the chance and just wasn't able to capitalize. For Tyler Nelson, it's been dominant since the start, just nice and comfortable out ahead. And as they round the final corner, Tyler Nelson is going to be the winner here at Circuit of the Americas in the iFormula League. Across the line there, you can see Barney the Flagman waving. And for Mackenzie Rune, one more lap, I think, would have made the difference there.
Yeah, I do agree with you. One more lap would have probably got him at that position as we wait for everybody else to come over the line. We've got Ian Lance and Glam Sitar and Scott Barton, of course, who we know is there as well. Scott will come over in third place, Glam Sitar in fourth, Ian Lance fifth, and then you got the likes of Robert Ridgway, Serrano, Colisi there as well, Cinco and Jimenez. So Kadiyama, I hope you've got a good insurance policy because you're not going to have a house left after this.
Yeah, that's gonna be unfortunate.
Stinger.
I wish you best of luck. That's all I've really got for that one.
I agree. So we're just waiting for the final cars to come through, and let's see how it gets on.
Yep, Robert Ridgway's through. I believe that is Anthony Serrano crossing the line now.
No, Ridgway, that was the deal, sir.
Okay, yeah, I forget that code of the line is way back on the back for the actual start-finish line.
And then you've got Adrian Colorseed, who is on his way around 16 and 17.
Yep. So you can see just how spread out the field actually got as this race went on. And again, we talked about it, kind of unfortunate. Could have used a nice little mid-race safety car, but as we go through, Colorseed will be the last one to cross the line, and I always forget that the start-finish line is right there at the end of the curves. Yeah, so race results here as we see them. It was, of course, Tyler Nelson who takes the win. Mackenzie Rune there in second place. Scott Barton in third. Christian Glamseeder in fourth place after running second for a majority of the race and having that unfortunate spin with just a handful of laps to go. Ian Lance, Robert Ridgway, Anthony Serrano, and then Adrian Colorseed going through. Big shout out to Anthony Serrano for being the winner of the AM class here. Mateus Balcar, Alexander Cinco, and Rachel Jimenez being rounding out. And then Alec Hinchcliffe, Hans Juker, and Victor Solano, our very unfortunate friend there, who lost out early on in this race.
I think that's the thing. When you're trying to complete races and you're driving around on your own and then you make a mistake and then there's just no time for anything. And I think that sometimes, you know, people do sort of give up almost. But there are some interviews ready and waiting for you, sir. Who would you like to start with first?
Yeah, let's start out with the overall race winner, Mr. Nelson. Let's bring Mr. Nelson in here and talk to him and see how that was.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Nelson, good evening. How are you, my friend?
Ooh, what's up?
Someone sounds very excited from that race win. Kind of talk to me about the race because once you took off there at the start and got up in the lead, you didn't look back.
Yeah, so I had two decisions on tunes. I spent some time this week. I was going to go for the low downforce tune just because it's hard for people to pass me on that backstretch. But I was like, you know what? This high downforce tune has amazing first lap and coming out of the pits. So I was like, let's see what we can do with this tune. And it paid off. The first lap out of the pits and off the grid just felt amazing with the tune. It had a little slip, but the rear wing caught it. It was perfect. So...
Yeah, kind of talk to me about what was the race strategy like for this, and were you paying attention to what was going on behind you, or was it just look ahead, head down, and keep going?
No, I wish I had that good of willpower. I was checking the timer almost every straightaway to make sure they were battling. At one point, we were all so close. I started fuel saving to try to back them into each other slightly. And then once I got my fuel where I wanted, then I put like 5 or 6 laps down, got a couple tenths on them while they were battling. And we had to hit the same the first and second stint to save fuel. So that first stint really showed me, all right, I saved about maybe an eighth of a lap extra. So on that second stint, I knew I had a little more to push. And yeah, it was perfect. Them guys are crazy fast. One of them might have been the faster guy today, but that first lap move, I got in the lead. I controlled the pace, and that's what that was.
Awesome. And then last thing, of course, as always, anyone you want to thank, anyone you would like to shout out, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so I do plan on, getting more serious in sim racing. So my teammate, he's been a big part of it. We push each other during and before the race, during the week of practice, and he's usually right on there with me with times. And his name is Anthony Serrano. I think he's in first in the AM league. So it's good to have each other because he sees a lot more problems with the cars where I just drive around it. And so we're a good team. I definitely made a lot of changes. I went with his whole tune this race, actually, and I usually do not do that. So yeah, definitely shout out to him for finding that tune. And shout out for the company. Who is it that is giving us tunes? Ridgeway Race Setups, because it's nice to have another setup. And last race, I did use most of his stuff. So shout out to him as well for those setups for us. Thank you.
Awesome. Congratulations on your race win, and we will see you next week, my friend.
Woo! Thank you.
Very, very excited race winner there. Let's go ahead and pull in P2 here, and let's talk with second place, Mackenzie Rune. Mackenzie, good evening, good afternoon. How are you?
I am completely exhausted.
That was a tough race for you because you ended up spending all but the last two laps defending and battling with Christian Glamsteeder there. Kind of talk to me about what your strategy was.
I mean, so I know Christian's super fast, and so I think we were trying to work together to see who could catch Tim or Nelson. And the thing is, I had to go for a couple of moves, but every time I got in front, my nerves started getting to me and making mistakes. So he would get back in front. And ultimately our battles ended up costing us, I think one of us maybe the lead. I think we could have caught him.
Kind of talk to me a little bit there because you qualified in P1 and you ended up dropping back and then ending up in this second place battle for, a majority of the race. Do you think there's anything you could have done different to keep the lead there out of turn one and keep the lead for the race? Or what was it kind of that caught you out?
Yeah, I mean, Timothy had a nice send down the outside, and I did not want to start such a long race with contact, so I let him have the outside, but I could have certainly practiced the starts more. It's been a while since I've run this track in the officials, so just not a lot of starting practice. So I definitely took too shallow of an entry there, and I could have held more speed.
Once Christian spun there, how relaxed did you get at the end? Because I could see a difference in your driving. So how relaxing was it? Once Christian spun, you got a little bit of distance there and you knew you didn't have to battle off to the end.
Yeah, I knew Christian, if there was 4/10 or less, he was going to send a move in the last few laps for sure. So once I saw that 1 and 2 second gap grow, I just focused on cutting down the tenths to Timothy in front and slowly but surely caught him. But, had a couple of small mistakes there at the end, so I couldn't quite make a move.
Awesome. And then, of course, as always, last but not least, anyone you would like to thank, anyone you want to shout out, the floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, just huge shout out to the team, Intend, Get Good. And then, of course, JP Broadcasting. Love you guys so much. So thanks for everything.
Thank you. And we will see you next week, my friend.
Take care, guys.
All right. So, James, I think next, let's go ahead and talk to Scott Barton here. Let's just round out our podium places here. Scott Barton, good evening, my friend. How are you?
Hey, good morning. Thank you.
It's morning for you, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I forget that you're the Australian of the group here. So kind of talk to me about your race. You had a very lonely run for most of it and then ended up in P3 at the end.
Oh, I just tried to save as much fuel as I could, hoping to, go full flat strap on the second run. So I think I saved a little bit too much and just couldn't get back into the rhythm. But luckily, Christian, either I think he got a drive through or underfueled, so that just gave me P3.
Yeah, he ended up spinning and then pit. So we're not sure exactly what happened with him there. I'd love to ask him, though. I'll have to ask him after the race. But what was your race strategy going into this? Again, you had a lonely race there. Other than just conserving fuel, Did you think about a 2-stop at all?
Nah, not at all. Just a single stop. That's what I plan to do most of the time. If we don't get a safety car in the first stint, then yeah, it's fuel safe. Second stint, go for hell for leather. So
Yeah, and what's the most challenging thing for you about these F3 cars? Is it fuel saving? Is it tire saving? Is it passing people? What is it that really makes these cars challenging for you?
fuel saving, because it's such a very fine line that you've got to push. If you don't push, you're going to lose a fair bit of time. So yeah, at the moment, fuel saving, but that's only because of first time I've actually done it, really. So because most of these F3s, you know, got enough fuel to do the complete race, so you just go for it.
I gotcha. And then Scott, last but not least, as always, anyone you want to thank, anyone you want to shout out, the floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, all the boys at Valve, Esports, RSW, graphics. If you want any paints done for your cars, he does real life cars as well. So it'll be nice and cheap for you blokes to get it done. Yeah, that's about it. Thanks to you boys for putting it all on, and yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott.
With your face today, young Mr. Scott.
That's all right. I thought you might want to check in and check out the gear. And
yeah, we definitely did. We checked it a couple of times there as well. A bit of a lonely race for you there, buddy, wasn't it? You know what I mean?
It happens, man.
Yeah.
It happens.
But it was all good though, buddy. But thank you so much for joining us, and have a good one, fella.
Thanks, bud.
Take care, mate.
Cheers.
There you go, Brad.
All right, James, let's bring in our last person here to interview. It is, of course, the winner of the AM class. It is Anthony Serrano.
There you go.
Anthony Serrano, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're at in the world. How are you, my friend?
Hello. I'm doing well. It was a bit of a disappointing race overall, but I made the best of it.
Yeah, I mean, you won in the AM class, though. You lost one place to Robert Ridgway there, but overall won in the AM. So, hey, you could put a race win under your belt.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely happy about that. But I felt like I could have competed for an actual first place this race. It was just unfortunate. I lost my side pod in lap 1 and had to go 24 laps on a set of tires after the pit stop, and I made it happen.
Yeah, so after that lap 1 incident, you had to pit in, change side pod, get tires. Was it just relaxed to the end, or how do you recover from a race when something crazy like that happens?
I just tried to go as fast as I could, as long as I could. It definitely paid off because I ended up catching Ridgway pretty quickly. I just made a silly mistake behind him. I had him in the position I wanted because he had to fuel save and I didn't, so I could have continued to push him and eventually get by him, but I made a silly mistake, or else I could have had 6th place.
And then kind of looking at just your overall race here, other than just that battle with Ridgway, it was a pretty relaxed race for you, it felt like, other than, lap 1, of course. But overall, the field spread out a lot, and it gave a lot of just good driving time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I definitely learned a lot on this track. This is not a track I typically race either. So this is I actually bought the track like a week ago just to do this race. So I never driven here before. So I'm pretty happy for the turnout, even though we had the unfortunate incident in lap 1.
Yeah, lap 1. It's unfortunate that lap 1 kind of sets the tone for the race, but that does happen sometimes. And, good recovery drive from you all the way to get yourself forward. Kind of, what do you take from those recovery drives to move forward in the next week?
I mean, it's just more experience with the car. I'm not like a huge iRacer, so I don't play this game all day, every day. So, I just get on for this league, and, I'm just continuing to learn how the car wants to be driven and, improving my ability race after race.
Awesome. And Anthony, last but not least, of course, floor is yours. Anyone you want to thank, anyone you want to shout out, it is your time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'd like to give my teammate a shout out who won the race, Tyler Nelson. He really helped me dial in the tune while I was at work all week. So, he did a lot of the legwork this week, and I'm pretty grateful for that.
Awesome. Thank you, Anthony. And we will see you next week, my friend.
All right. Awesome. I look forward to it.
All right, James, and I think that's going to be where we call round 4 here at COTA, here in the iFormula League. Of course, Next week is going to bring more action, and then every Sunday thereafter, lots of good action coming your way. More things coming up this afternoon on the JP Broadcasting Network, so be sure to tune in for that and check that out. And, of course, as always, on behalf of James, my name is Brad, and we will see you right back here for the next one.